Everyone, welcome to Curious Sports Pulse. My name is Gabriel. NBA free agency is taking over a little bit the American, at least, sports landscape, and I'm here for it. The NFL will have its day one day in the United States, at least, where it's the front center, where it receives the majority of attention. I'm rooting for the NFL to one day get at the level of the NBA off season. But until that day, we will dissect and we will analyze anything and everything in regards to the NBA. So, first of all, we have to admit, granted, this is coming from a 100% San Antonio Spurs fan. Must be said, ever since ever since I was a wee lad, ever since I was young, 100%. This is coming from a San Antonio Spurs fan, 100% biased. But I love that the San Antonio Spurs now have Chris Paul. I do. And now, hear me out. Hear me out. It's not that we're going to, and again, this is me saying we in terms of being an actual San Antonio Spurs fan. It's not that I know we're going to go to the Western Conference Finals now, right? That goes without saying. But no, kidding aside, I love this because of everything Chris Paul is, who he represents, and what he brings to the table. And people enjoy adding qualifiers to this kind of statement of even though he's at this stage in his career or despite his age, right, they like adding those type of qualifiers, which I genuinely don't even see necessary. I Chris Paul, regardless if he plays 40 games, god forbid a full season, which snowballs chance in hell. But even it doesn't matter how many games he's available for, because what he offers, even if he had to be on the bench, you essentially get a full-time assistant coach as a player and someone who can still do it, someone who can still bring it, and someone who can still lead the floor, make the right play, make the smart play, and someone who can just really be a perfect role model. All right. Is there such thing as perfection? There might be in Chris Paul in terms of the intensity and what it means to be a pro in this league. Now, people understandably have their issues. We'll just call it charitably that for a moment. With Chris Paul and what he does. And that's more interpersonal though. So he brings a high level of intensity. Fair. Fine. All right, you got me there. But it also needs to be said that that intensity comes with a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge, and someone who walks the walk. So I'm largely okay with any of the criticisms, any of the people who almost hold that against him. I'm largely okay with that. Now, basketball sense, what does this do for the Spurs? And why I love this more than anything else. Let's forget about if the Spurs are going to make the playoffs now or not. It's possible, particularly with the play-in situation. It's possible to make the playoffs. I don't think anyone would expect them to make too much noise. But right, it's definitely possible, particularly when you see how the season ended last year. They went on a run. You could see making the playoffs. The West is crowded, sure, but there is also a deep drop off once you get past the Nuggets, the Timberwolves, and the Mavericks, for example. And I'm sure I'm missing a team right now off the top of my head. But there are also teams to be had, and there's plenty of opportunity, like I said, particularly with the play on, to at least get to the 10 seed and you hopefully go on a run. But I love this mostly because now Trey Jones, assuming they hold on to him, doesn't need to be the starting point guard. He can come off the bench, which is much more appropriate for him. And if needed, for when Chris Paul, particularly his hamstring, right? You're crossing your fingers that that stays afloat. But when Chris Paul now needs just needs his regular, right? What's he gonna play now? I'm gonna probably around 25 minutes a game when he plays. But if / when he has to miss extended time, you have a competent starting point guard, like right around average in Trey Jones. And that's good enough for a stretch. That's all you really ask for someone who comes off the bench in terms of value over replacement. But more importantly, he can learn from Chris Paul. Wemby can learn from Chris Paul. Vassell can. Let's see what happens with Sochin. And let's see what happens with Keldon Johnson. But right now, everything starts to make a little more sense. Everything starts to fit into play. We all saw the clips last year of Victor Wembanyama being more or less completely open and him being ignored down low. And the team seemingly just disinterested in even getting the ball to him, particularly down the stretch late. That completely goes away with Chris Paul. He is someone who will make sure the ball gets to the right person, and if not, he will be very vocal about it. So any potential games, and that became less and less the case. But we have to admit, when watching the Spurs play last year, that was definitely a serious hangup. That was very evident last year. So now, here we are with this Spurs team and Greg Popovich and Chris Paul. And it's been known that Chris Paul has always respected Greg Popovich, right? A lot of NBA veterans do. But then more importantly, he wanted, and he was in awe almost of everything that Victor Wembanyama brings to the table. So I just think this is a really good situation for everyone. And who knows what the actual realistic expectations should be for this San Antonio Spurs team? I would say 500. The fight for 500 is more than fair, and that would be significant progress. Now, is that what Chris Paul necessarily wants to hear at this point in his career? I highly doubt that. But to me, that shows how much Chris Paul respects Victor Wembanyama. That shows what Chris Paul thinks of him, and that he must think that they're decently close to at least make things interesting, because I don't understand otherwise why Chris Paul would, in essence, throw away a year. Unless he is just saying, all right, the ship sailed on a championship run. I want to be somewhere where I can, play good basketball and be a part of something special. It's only a 1-year deal, depending on how things shape out. You have a lot of young talent on there. Could he return next year and then make that next push? I guess potentially. But in the immediate, like I said, for sure, I see the fight for 500 being realistic, and I would be happy with that. I think that's reasonable. But now, for sure, there's going to be a lot of highlight reels. It's going to be fun to watch, and we will be here. We will be here to dissect it all. It's going to be a lot of fun. Do not. How can you not be surprised? I mean, you should be surprised if we see something of a Lob City 2.0. Now, NBA free agency. we just got off with Andrew Kim at Total Apex Sports in terms of what Isaiah Hartenstein meant to the Knicks. And we made the case of why it's a no-brainer for both sides for Isaiah Hartenstein to go and say sign for less on the Knicks. And of course, that immediately gets completely annihilated as he is now on his way. He is out the door. He is saying adios. He is saying until next time. Isaiah Hartenstein, almost breaking the hearts of some New York Knicks fans, is signing with the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I spoke with Andrew about this, and credit to him. He said he wasn't too worried, mainly because of the core four in New York right now. I think that's probably fair enough. You don't hate what New York is doing. In fact, you have to love it. You have to admire it. This is a team that is going for it. They went all in, sticking with their identity. The Villanova Knicks. You have to like it, I think. Now, that being said, I would have much preferred Isaiah Hartenstein to stay because he showed that he can fit in his role perfectly on this team. And he showed that he would be willing to really do anything asked of him. So I don't love that he isn't going to be on this team, and they're going to have to find a little more depth now at center. And we saw Wendell Carter Jr. is a potential person there. We'll see, I guess. I I don't mind Wendell Carter Jr. I much preferred Hartenstein at the moment. So we'll see about all of that. It's not that I'm not sold on this Knicks team otherwise. I will say they for sure need to find someone who provides at least 75% of what Hardenstein was offering this team. That's going to be crucial. And now, as we're speaking here, Tobias Harris leaves Philly for the Detroit Pistons. I'm largely okay with this. Why? Because Tobias Harris was never quite who we hoped, was never quite who we imagined this uh, player could be. A lot of potential, but he's someone who for sure, and credit to him, you can't fault him, but he's someone who's taken advantage of his current position in life, uh his current stock, we'll call it that for now, right? His current stock. And they being the Philadelphia 76ers never really got what they would have hoped out of that contract. He is, how do we describe Tobias Harris even? In terms of a championship team, I think you'd want him to be your third or fourth best player. If he's your second best player, you have a very limited ceiling. He for sure can't be your first scoring option. So I think he's someone who more or less has been a beneficiary of his reputation and what his potential has been for quite a while now. And fair enough. Like I said, we can't fault him. But me personally, I never was thrilled with the signing just in terms of what the money was. So do I love him on the team? Yes. But signing him means you can't sign someone who you actually need in terms of taking that next step if you're a Philadelphia 76ers team. So I don't mind that they got rid of him. I think that's a net positive in totality. Now, moving on to one of my favorite topics. I'm not I'm facetious quite often, but not in this particular case. The WNBA has been simply spectacular this regular season. And not for all the reasons that I think people would have said coming in. I have enjoyed, I have loved watching the regular season. I have enjoyed all of the storylines, and let's stick away from the Angel Reese Caitlin Clark narrative. Just can we do that for 2 minutes while talking the WNBA? Both players are amazing. Both players have been playing well. Needs to be said, both players right now are, or both teams would be are in a fight with each other to make the playoffs. So there's a lot of, and not that that's the end all be all, but what all I mean by that in that comment is that there's a lot of other great talent and other great narratives, other great storylines going on throughout the WNBA. Nearly had a Freudian slip there. So let's speak right now. My favorite team to watch, my current favorite team to watch, if I'm being honest, is the Seattle Storm, and not because of the Nika Mule. What has the U umlaut? I always say Müll, but that's the German speaking in me. So I struggle to say words that in my head should be pronounced a certain way. So Nika Mul. But anyway, you know who I mean. Not because of her pregame outfits, although they are spectacular, and it's always content. It's always something. So, shout out to the social media team for the Seattle Storm, making sure that they get engagement and clicks. You know what? Fair enough. Good for them. But that's not what I want to focus on with this Seattle Storm team. You know who really is impressing me is everyone everyone in the starting lineup. This is a well coached Seattle Storm team, and they have a lot of players on here who speaking of knowing your role, they not only are playing well together, but they also will find moments, they will find opportunities, they'll find spots to elevate themselves and step up their game. So one of my favorite players to watch at all is Skylar Diggins Smith, a true point guard, and then when needed can also be a scorer. And we saw I forget. I'll be honest, I forget who they're playing the other day. Oh, the Dallas Wings. That's who they were playing. Yeah, I had to think about it for a moment. But either way, we saw. I think it was that game. If not, then you'll know what I'm talking about instantly. That spin move and that nice finish at the end, that was spectacular. That was really good. So she's someone, she knows what she's looking for. She knows how to run an offense, and like I said, the thing that you really love about her is that she can find those opportunities to then elevate her game as needed, particularly when the other team is going on a run. And then Nanika Ogumike, apologies for butchering that one. Like I said, pronunciation not always my strong suit, but either way, really strong presence down low. I really enjoy watching her. Um, and then Jewel Lloyd, talk about what Jewel Lloyd is the exact reason why people should have been weary. Why anyone telling you that um, any of these rookies were going to come in and and dominate, quote, dominate the league. Jewel Lloyd is the perfect embodiment of why that was complete lunacy and should really have never been part of the conversation. Just really competitive, does all the right things. Not that everyone else isn't competitive, but you know what I'm saying. She is someone, Jewel Lloyd, who has that next step, brings it each and every night on both ends. Really fun to watch, and is willing to do it all in terms of right score, but also the little things, a little bit of the dirty work. I enjoy watching her play, and this might even come out as too strong. This Seattle Storm team might honestly have the best backcourt, and for sure, I think they're the best two-way backcourt. And so, case in point, for anyone, this we're now going to mix a little bit here in terms of what we just said on Nika Mool and this team specifically. In case in point, in terms of how good the WNBA is, and specifically how good the Seattle Storm backcourt is, Nika Mool isn't getting playing time until deep into garbage time at moment. She has not seen the floor much. So I'm only bringing that up because when she gets out there, she looks like she fits. She doesn't look out of place at all. Nika Mool. No. I think it just speaks to how good the veterans are on this team and how she is in a good situation where she can learn. I think she'll be fine. When she does see the court, good things are going to happen. Um, and her kind of sitting out, almost like a first round quarterback, sitting out, learning from Peyton Manning, learning from Tom Brady, learning from Patrick Mahomes. That could never hurt. And that's, I think, how you should read the situation with Nika Mool and this Seattle Storm team. I know a lot of people are going to still like the Las Vegas Aces, and that's fine. A lot of people are going to like the New York Liberty or Connecticut Sun singular. That's fine too. I'm staking my claim this year with this Seattle Storm team. And to be fully transparent, it was Jordan Ramos who said this first, who brought this to my attention in terms of a quality team who could be dangerous. So want to give credit where credit's due there. Either way, it doesn't matter. We've seen the margins are slim. There's a lot that can happen in this league. And the only thing that I'm a little upset about is that we have this Olympic break, and I'm worried about teams and it breaking up momentum. Other than that, this has been a fantastic product in the WNBA. So I can't wait. So tonight we have, for example, um, the Seattle Storm playing. I can't wait to watch that game. They're playing the Dallas Wings again, and then the Connecticut Suns singular once again playing the Phoenix Mercury. Phoenix Mercury, I think, need this one, and they can more than capable of winning on any given night. Phoenix Mercury are also have dropped a lot of games. So, like I said, plenty of actual, genuinely good storylines that, and I just if you want to bring in silliness into the WNBA discussion, fine, that's your prerogative. But we're gonna steer clear of it as much as possible. Now, finally, on to Euro 2024. Uh, let's stick first with England. What a disappointment they have been throughout the tournament. And we say this, I feel like a broken record, and I feel like a broken record giving a broken record analogy. But it needs to be said. I wonder if they have, quote, turned the page, because that game that we saw from them, that performance, That is something that they lose every other tournament. England finding a way through Jude Bellingham, through Harry Kane. Pardon me. England finding a way against Slovakia when it looked like for sure they would be out, and then winning it in extra time and not making it go to penalties. That was special. And it takes moments like that. Who knows why or what the curse is or why it hasn't come home for England? Because it's never been a question of talent with England. It's never been a question of do they have the do they have good players. They always have. It's always been a question of the right players just gelling together and figuring it out. And unfortunately for them, it always seems to be the mental pressure of being in this moment, of being on the big stage and knowing that you're letting down your home country. I think it's a little of that and also the pressure of the media. I think right, it's a combination of all of this. It has proven to be too much at times. And so that win yesterday, advancing, good for them, rooting for them. I think they could be on the right track here. I really do. Now, let's see. Uh, and by the time this releases for some people, this game will have already happened. So you'll either hear my current words and say I'm brilliant or say, what the heck is this guy thinking? But don't worry, we'll break it down either way. France, Belgium. I've been so unimpressed with both teams, and both teams have been equally disappointing. So up until this point, and again, we have to give the edge to England because credit where credit's due. Credit where credit's due. England found a way to win. It again in a situation where they so often have just found really heartbreaking ways to lose. But so before yesterday, I had France, Belgium, and England all on the same page, all in the same vein of just disappointment, of underachieving in this Euro 2024. Now, France, people are going to give, I think, an undeserved pass because of Kylian Mbappe's nose fracture situation. I don't care. This is a team that should also, when you look at their matchups and who they played against, this is a team that should have comfortably won. And then even with Kylian Mbappe, the mask is an impairment in the sense of it limits you visually and it does become a little harder to breathe. Particularly your 360, 180 vision. I guess it'd be 180 because we don't have eyes in the back of our skulls. Breaking news. So I'm fine with all of that if that's our reasoning. Uh, but you still can make runs, you still can strike the ball well, and you still can finish inside the penalty area with or without a mask. So that's why I see it as an excuse if you're saying, well, he had a mask or he's doing with a broken nose. Well, you don't typically score with your face. Some people do, some people have, but again, you typically don't. But offensively, in the run of play, this team has been so disappointing. France has, and now Belgium, their run of play has largely been good enough. Romelu Lukaku, it just proves to be one of the more overrated strikers. You're one of your more overrated number 9 options of all time, and he drives me absolutely insane with the amount of wasted chances. So this is going to be France Belgium is going to be something of a mid off. Now I like Kevin De Bruyne. I like Belgium slightly more because they have just looked more cohesive and slightly more on the same page. So I am expecting Belgium to win. That's just me. But again, either way, I don't think you can take too much stock in this game. I don't think you can hold, regardless if France or Belgium wins. And again, I haven't watched this game as of recording. This is just me anticipating. These are two teams that are not connected at all. I'm not impressed. I don't think we can read too much into this France Belgium game. I think they're two teams that have been largely disappointing. Portugal, Slovenia. I really liked Portugal up until that final group stage game, and then they kind of let themselves down by having all the subs in that they did, all the and taking out all the starters that they did. Right? They made what was it, 8 changes. Didn't love that. But we move on. United States, Uruguay. This is a big game if you are inside the United States and a soccer fan, I suppose. I largely don't care. I think Uruguay is going to handle business. This is a bad United States team. And huge shock among shots, despite shocks among shocks, despite having home field advantage for yet another tournament. They're going to underachieve. Now, Uruguay, or moving on to Copa America, I'm really looking forward to Colombia, Brazil. Now, Colombia coming off a game in Mexico where Mexico could have easily have won that. So would like to see Colombia uh, stick more to their identity. I think they're a good team. I think they can give Brazil fits. I want to give them a 1-game pass because I want to say that they just came out to play to draw. So therefore, I'm giving Colombia a 1-game pass, but really looking forward to that Brazil game. And then Argentina, they look as I'm thinking Ecuador. I'm so sorry. That's what I meant to say about Ecuador. Colombia, Brazil, I think will be a good game. Sorry, I got my flags mixed up for a moment. Pardon me, everyone. But either way, you get the point. Argentina, I want to see how they look now because Messi is dealing with an injury. So I want to see what that looks like, if I'm being completely honest. So my verdict, I'm going to hold my verdict until seeing Argentina play the next game. Netherlands, Romania. Netherlands, fortunate that they're even getting to play right now. Let's be real there. Turkey, Austria. I think everyone's favoring Turkey or rooting for Turkey. Everyone's rooting for Turkey. No one should be surprised if Austria does advance, and consequently, no one should be surprised if Romania advances because Netherlands, another team that's been largely disappointing. Let's see, and then to wrap all of this up for now, that's how I see things unfolding. Do we still like Germany in the Euros? I think so. I because even when they didn't play well, they found ways to win, and they're going to play Spain next. I do like Germany in that game against Spain, but I think that's going to be an excellent matchup for that quarterfinal. So I still have Germany winning it all, right? I'm not making a bold pick there, but don't be surprised either way. Well, that's all the time we have for now. Tune in 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and tune in to Apex Sports, all the great stuff we're doing over there. But until next time.